going to talk about this. Parker Livingstone stepping up. Hey, it came out a couple hours ago. It sucks, but it works in the favor of what we're talking about. Ryan Wingo pulled his hamstring. He's going to be out for the whole spring, most likely. We hope he's available, obviously, for fall ball heading into the season. He's going to be very important. But apparently, Parker Livingstone has been stepping up during the spring. And then on Saturday, he had a really good scrimmage and caught multiple touchdown passes. So what do you think about the step up for Parker Livingston? And what do you think he's capable of at Texas?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why Texas prioritized him in that recruiting class. And there's a reason why, in a class that had the dudes that it had, he was among them. And he flew under the radar a little bit because the top end of that class was really hot and really high. But like, he is a guy who is a better route runner than he should have been coming out of high school. And he is really like, in high school, one of the things that they did with him that I was surprised at a guy with his frame is they would put him out in space and he would make people miss, right? He would play in the screen game, play in the quick out game, and just get him one-on-one with defensive backs. And so if you've got a guy that's got decent size and that skill set, it's hard to keep him off the field. Sark likes those guys who can be big but also play well in space one-on-one. That's a walk-in touchdown right there. If you're big enough to outbody somebody but can also drop a leg and zone right by him, like that's a guy who's going to play a lot in Sark's offense. Great route runner. He ran track for a little bit, obviously not like the elite speedster that we've seen, but he reminds me of a post-injury Jordan Shipley, right? Like just shifty in short area bursts, runs really good routes, makes himself available. Like that's what his game, and it's not just because of the melanin differences or the melanin similarities, right? But just like the way his game, I saw them like first play, go watch his huddle. First play on his huddle is a wide receiver screen, and it felt like Jordan Shipley. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and like you said, he ran track, and I think he was injured his senior year, and he couldn't run track because I believe he broke his foot. Yeah. But he had decent track times. Like, this guy's not slow. Like, if he runs a 40, he's probably low 4.4s, maybe mid 4.4s. Yeah. And then people forget he's huge. I mean, he's 6'4", probably could put on a little bit of weight, but 194. So, I mean, maybe 5-6 pounds, and I think he'd be fine. But he's going to get a lot of run. Like we said, Ryan Wingo's hurt. DeAndre Moore's hurt. Honestly, he's probably wide receiver 1 right now in practice, which as a Texas fan, do I love that? No, not really. But hey, honestly, if there's a time for these guys to get a crap ton of reps, they don't have them, this is the time. So this thing with Ryan Wingo, as long as it doesn't linger, because I've hurt my hamstring before and it's lasted months. I could not get rid of it, would not go away, and still nags, honestly. So hopefully that isn't the case with Ryan Wingo and he ends up being fine. And if this could honestly work out where it helps us in the long term because of the reps these guys get because of that.
And you and I have talked about it before. Like, Texas doesn't have a lot of proven bodies at wide receiver. And so it sucks that you've got multiple guys that are on the mend, but seeing a guy like Parker Livingston come out and step up and be that next man up, right? Who are these young guys coming in? We talked about Khalil Lockett. We talked about Jamie French. Go back and watch us talk about the wide receivers last week, right? Like, creating opportunities for these other guys to step up and prove, that just shows how many options Texas has. And so when we get to the fall and everybody's hopefully, fingers crossed, healthy, right? You have the ability to have multiple guys on the field. You can have a healthy rotation. You can have 5 or 6 guys that you're comfortable with being on the field. So having a guy like Parker Livingston, who going into spring wasn't a guy that we expected to see this out of. So it's found money, in my opinion.
No, I agree. And I think it was interesting. I believe someone asked Sark, is there a reason you're starting to get like bigger wide receiver recruits? Because you've seen that. Usually he would go after like the Henry Ruggs, Jalen Waddle, which are 5'10", 5'11" guys.
Devonta Smith.
Devonta Smith, who's maybe 5'11", maybe 6 foot. They're probably generous on the NFL rosters with that.
Yeah.
But like Parker Livingston, 6'4", Khalil Lockett, 6'2", Jalen McCutcheon's a small one. I believe he's like 5'10", 5'11". So, and he basically said, when we got into the SEC, I wanted to get more physical at like the cornerback position and then also the wide receiver position because it's a more physical league. So it makes perfect sense. I think Parker Livingston is going to do a really good job in this system.
Yeah.
Again, do I love that he could potentially be wide receiver 1 if those two guys don't end up healthy? No, I do not love that. I think that would be really bad for Texas if that ended up being the case. But if he's my wide receiver 4 this year, I feel pretty confident in what he's capable of doing and what I've seen out of high school and the way Sark develops these wide receivers. I wouldn't mind that, and I think he'd do a really good job.
Yeah, and again, I think he's a guy who came in and had a little bit of a longer development curve, just because again he was a multi-sport athlete in high school, and he just wasn't as polished and needed to develop. And now that he's there, and again, this is the next man up mentality, right? And that thing gets overplayed, right? Everybody says next man up, but legitimately, like if somebody goes down and you've got a guy like Parker Livingston, you said wide receiver 4, I could see him stepping up into like a wide receiver 3 role next year, and there are going to be plenty of balls to go around next year. So I really anticipate this being a blessing in disguise, we'll say, for Texas, or a silver lining to the cloud of the injuries.
No, and that's the thing, too. A lot of people reported that had access to the practice that was the group that they're most concerned about. So that sucks, honestly, because I thought this group would be, honestly, better than that, where you have guys like on Texas, inside Texas, both saying, hey, we might need someone here. And there is someone coming. We've said that as well. Like, there is someone coming in the spring portal. Do we know who that is yet? No, but they are going to come to Texas. It's going to be very interesting to see who that is, if this is a big dog or more of a guy like you said, or you say all the time, Gerald, where it just raises the floor of this room. I'm very interested now to see that with the injuries that have happened and guys having to step up already.
Yeah, and like I said, the spring window is around the corner, so we'll find out here pretty quickly. But I don't think this is a group that needs to raise the ceiling, right? I think this is a raise the floor kind of situation, and so we'll see. Again, if it's a guy who raises the ceiling, I'm not mad about it. But ultimately, when you raise the ceiling with somebody like that, you have more margin for error when it comes to injury.
Yeah, and CJ Vogel tweeted out something, and he's 100% right on this. Silas Bolden missed by a year. Silas Bolden would be absolutely perfect for this team right now, honestly. Yeah. So it sucks that he didn't have another year, or, hey, we have a time machine. We could bring him with us this year.
If only. Man, they figured him out too late last year. So it is missed opportunities.
100%. That does it for Parker Livingston step